honest to God, I promise on everything I love right now that I did not want to actually make a Kano rant. I obviously had a lot of talks on Twitter. As you guys can see, my notifications are filled. They've been filled most of the day. And even a little bit yesterday. But, well, I do get a lot of what people are saying. Let me actually pull up Paint. If you guys remember my old streams, you guys remember whenever Paint comes out, you know it's gonna be a banger. But there exists like two schools of thought when it comes to Kano. Alright? Let me say this. There is a literal, in my opinion, like 4-pronged thing, and everyone exists in like some plane of this, right? So on like this plane, I mean obviously the X and Y axis aren't like absolutely perfect, but like just go with me here. There's people's enjoyment of the hero. And we'll just make it this axis is like fun. We'll just type in how much fun are they having, or at least how much agency do they feel like they're having. And then on this line, it's like how do I properly explain this? It's like one axis is how much fun they have. Two, I guess is like I guess it's like agents. I don't know if agency is the correct word, because agency kind of like goes back into like fun. If someone has a lot of agency, like they like if someone has no agency, obviously it's going to be less fun. Maybe agency is just the correct word. Agent. See, I could literally just type it, whatever. So it's like everyone exists on this plane, right? Obviously, for me as a Kano player, I find the deck very fun. Even when I'm playing against it, I've had fun, but I'm obviously a wizard player. But on average, like you have people that think the deck is like the worst thing to play against, and they feel like they have no agency, and they feel like they just die. And these are the people that like bring Arcade Barrier 0, no Spell Void, and just pray to God they don't face any. And when they do, they just cry into her. So like they're like right here, right? And then you have the people kind of like me, where I find the deck very fun, so I'm going to be up here. And I definitely do think you have agency in the Kano game. Now, obviously, is it perfect agency? Like, is there some stuff you just cannot control? Like, for example, if you have Arcane Barrier 3, which is very standard, and your opponent swings a 5 arcane damage spell at you, well, you're just going to take 2 no matter what. It's kind of like Dominate in that sense, right? But I definitely do think you have agency, because there are, unfortunately, cards in this game that heavily counter decks like Kano. But I definitely think I'm in the camp of you have agency versus Kano. And then obviously, like, you know, you get to the people that, like, I hate playing against Kano, but, like, these are the people that, like, say, I hate playing against Kano, but I'm just going to bring Arcane Barrier 3 and Oasis every match. Like, maybe they're maybe going on the exact very end of the spectrum, but, like, they have a low amount of fun, but they know they have agency. And then there's the people going, like, Kano's just a cool deck, and I'm just going to die. And they're, like, here. And then obviously, like, people have their own, like, various things. Like, someone might be here, someone might be here, someone might be here, someone might be here, right? This is not breaking news to anyone. But where I feel that I am losing, I'm kind of not understanding everything in this situation is people just claiming that, like, Kano is just, like, oppressive. Like, Kano, for the most part, in his life, like, so obviously, let's go through, like, this is, like, Kano's birthplace. This is where Kano, like, started, right? And then let's go through this here, and then let's just go to, like, PT. This is pre Everfest. I'm just gonna type it, whatever. Pre Ev. That's pre Everfest. And then here you have like PT1. You have PT1. Next, you kind of have Worlds. Obviously, this is not going to be a perfect thing, but just obviously, again, just kind of bear with me, guys. You have Worlds, and then I think we do lose a lot of like. I think the next big point was PT2 actually. I do think we legit do skip from Worlds to there when there's a big thing with Kano. So then we have PT2. And then again, I actually think there's another big skip, unironically, to PT3. Because, like, obviously in the middle of all these, you have your ProQuest and your RTNs, but I don't think Kano has, like, a large say in anything here. You have PT3. Then obviously next, we come here. And we have Worlds, again. I think that's when Kano kind of arises again. And now we have present day. Obviously, this is an amazing chart. So let's kind of talk about Kano and all of these. And all of these aspects, right? And let's like be objective here. Let's truly be objective, guys. So pre Everfest, Kano. Absolutely dog pick. Obviously, this is when decks like Starvo were out. Yes, obviously, once we get to the PT1, we will be revisiting decks like Starvo. But this is no Wildfire Kano. His main big damage spell is things like Stir the Aether Wind into things like Fork Lightning to be able to chunk out a lot. They were playing lots of heavy reds. But let's be honest, Kano was bad. Not even like a dark horse. He is just bad. Right? And then we go to PT1. PT1. Kano actually does pretty good at this meta. Right? If we remember, let's come down here. There was two Kanos, and there was two Kanos in top 8, right? It was Sasha and Alexander, or? Pretty sure there was two. Two in top 8, and obviously there's notable other Kanos like Hayden Dale, Brendan Patrick. Obviously there's probably a few more Kanos that were there. I don't remember how many. I think there was like 6 to 8 total. And what the story that everyone's going to remember is like the 10-minute game, and that's including with like setup time and like players being slow, because that game actually was very slow paced. Everyone's gonna remember the 10-minute game, Kano versus Starbo. Everyone's gonna remember this insane pop-off turns by Kano, and this was a format where a lot of people did not respect Kano. I absolutely agree with everyone disrespecting Kano, because there was nothing beforehand telling you to respect Kano. And then again, let's look at who was bringing it. Vor, Sasha. These are obviously just the big ones that everyone knows. And then the Arsenal Pass people. These are literally wizard stands who have been with the hero. These are the cream of the crop Kano players playing Kano. There was probably a lot of Kanos in the lead up to this that no one heard about. No one did anything. You know why? Because of the bottom 99%. They're not doing anything with this hero. This hero is very powerful. I would be lying and misleading if I said this hero isn't just filled with raw power, especially once it got Wildfire. It absolutely changed the hero for the better when it comes to individual power level. But that still is not enough for the average Kano player. For example, I have only played Kano for now going on 12 months. Actually, if you guys remember, in about 2 weeks, this time last year is when I actually picked up Kano for the first time. It's almost coming up in a year, my first ever Kano video. And I think for this year, Kano's probably my most played hero. Even though I've kind of bounced around with other heroes. It's between this and like Control Dash, right? That's why I got the playmat, by the way. And I'm still nowhere near these guys. Even though Vora really hasn't played Kano a lot recently, at least in premier competitions, I am nowhere near Vora. I'm nowhere near Sasha, anyone Arsenal Pass. And there's been a lot of Kanos came up recently. Obviously, everyone knows, like, Peter, Majin, all the boys on Sonic Doom. So it's like Tog, Pitch Stack, Juju, all of them, like all like those like Kanos that like you really see like on Twitter and you see on Discord, like those Kanos, Pontiff, obviously. I'm nowhere near them. And like, let's just say like I group all those like random people I said right here, and let's just add them in here. Let's just say these poll players are the top 1%. These are the people actually doing stuff with Kano and actually having results. Then you have literally everyone else. Like, obviously, I have a very good friend, Nathaniel Snyder. He's probably just outside of this. Like, he's like, if you want to expand to top 5%, he's probably in the top 5%. Like me, I'm probably top like 12 to 15% of Kanos, right? And you see, everyone that's not in this, you rarely, and I mean rarely, see them put up a result with Kano. You might see a decent run. I'm not saying they've never had a decent run, but when are they really converting into something meaningful? They're not, right? They're just not. So this is an anomaly. This is an outlier in the history of Kano. So let's go to Worlds. Everyone thought it was really cool because everyone likes Hayden. I like Hayden. You like Hayden. Everyone thought, oh, Hayden's bringing out his Kano deck. Ooh, that's going to be spicy. And then he absolutely destroyed Chandler on camera. But you know what the really crazy part about that is? At that point in time, who was going like, wow, this fucking Kano hero, what the was that? Everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool that Kano could do that. He was able to just do like 40 in a turn. No one on Twitter was complaining. Because it was Hayden Dell, and we all like Hayden. And it was only one time. It wasn't like he did that the whole entire tournament. It wasn't like there was multiple. It was just one, and we only seen it one time. Right? Everyone's going to remember Hayden Dell versus Chandler Toe. I like Hayden, but how did Hayden do in CC? I don't actually know his record, to be honest. And unless he just bombed draft, which if I memory serves correctly, he did good in draft. I could be having like pro tours and something mixed up, but I believe he did pretty good in Worlds with his draft. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But point being, he didn't convert to top 8, which obviously top 8 isn't like the end all be all. It's actually a very low percentage of what I think you should think of a power level of a deck, which literally helps my point out more. How often have you guys seen Kano be a large meta share or have really good Swiss results? And multiple people have good Swiss results. I'm not saying just one person one time. Let's look over like a 4-week period, and let's say there is a major event, like a calling here, 2 battle hardens here, here's ProQuest season, here's like a calling here and like a battle harden. How many times have you seen like a 4 tournament span Kano doing really well? What you'd see is like one Kano doing well here, maybe squeezing a top 8, maybe, probably not, but maybe, and then like one Kano doing like fine in Swiss. That's literally the history. This is an inarguable fact. It's literally inarguable. But let's go further into the timeline. Pro Tour 2. Can anyone tell me what Kano did at the Pro Tour 2? Can anyone raise your hand? Tell me what Kano did. What did Kano do? I will patiently wait here for anyone to tell me what Kano did at Pro Tour 2. We are literally going to sit here, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys are going to tell me what Kano did at Pro Tour 2. Literally, whoever tells me what Kano did at Pro Tour 2, I will literally sell you my Kano deck. And I'm talking about give me a good result that Kano did. Can anyone tell me? No? Oh, that's actually kind of insane. I just can't, because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, here's the thing. Kano has been pretty much the exact same deck the whole entire time. He's been the exact same deck the whole entire time, guys. We are just now seeing some minor innovations. And again, this is present day. We're not even here yet where these innovations are coming. And these are just very one-time innovations. From a little bit after here, so like this area, I don't know what season this would have been, to like here, it's pretty much been the exact same deck. Like we can literally look at deck lists, not tournament deck lists, because the Kanos aren't converting there. But we can look at deck lists and see there's been no innovation. Kano's been the exact same deck, especially since Wildfire. Let's actually even group this in. Since Wildfire has been printed, it has been the exact same deck. We're all in on Wildfire combo. That's it. That's literally it. And people seen Worlds, and you would think, even PT1 like, oh my gosh, maybe we have to prepare for a random Kano. And the Kanos did nothing. Now you could say it's a byproduct of Icelander existing. I'm down for that argument. That's a very positive argument to say, right? But historically, slower metas are good for Kano. This is where people literally just show they have no knowledge. One of the best metas for Kano was when Oldhim was on top. Especially when he went to that Healing Fatigue, just do nothing deck. You wanna know why? What is the Oldhim doing to put pressure on you? Nothing. So then you can freely pitch stack into him and say, you can have Oasis. You can have 64 blues in your hand. You are dead when I say you're dead. And that was even to Spell Void with Shock Charmers matchups. Well, not all. When Fatigue Briar was a thing, but that's obviously a little bit later in the timeline. But slow metas benefit Kano. Now, obviously, if literally no one's running AB, and they can't turn 3, turn 4 kill you, which most decks kind of can, to be honest, if they go unmitigated. Sure. And that's again when we get to the Realm Rumble, people ask Gimmick on Live AB. Sure. But Kano's a very fragile deck, and because of the amount of blues that we have to run and how bad the blues are when it comes to actual damage, the turn 0, turn 1, turn 2 kills that you guys are seeing are literally anomalies. They're tangents. These are not common. I could literally, and what I even might do is I might even goldfish a few games before we actually get into the actual games. We will goldfish and see how many times, if my opponent has no AB, how many turn 1, turn 2 kills I can pull off. And I know all the combos. I've done a lot of goldfishing. And I guarantee you, if we do it 20 times, we might pull it off twice. And I say might. And that's with AB0. AB1 obviously changes the math. AB2 changes the math. Like, every point of AB changes the math. But again, Kano literally did nothing at Pro Tour 2. So we have Pre-Everfest, Kano sucks. PT1, notable, 2 Kanos on top 8. Everyone's going to remember, again, like, the Sasha and Vord just absolutely cleaning house. Everyone's going to remember Hayden Dell versus Chandler Toe at Worlds. You will hear nothing else about Kano. Pro Tour 2, you hear nothing about Kano. Between this, you hear nothing about Kano. Again, you have these competitions up here, these big competitions, where, like, one Kano might do well in Swiss. One Kano might do top 8, but what else are they doing? We go to Pro Tour 3. Can anyone tell me what Kano did at Pro Tour 3? Anyone? Oh, it's the exact same as Pro Tour 2? Oh, okay, that's cool. And then let's have this like a little bit aside, because again, this is where the Icelander matchup comes. Now, yes, people are going to state that Icelander was a bad matchup for Kano. Obviously, you also have the other side, like people like Tog will say Icelander was a bye for Kano. I am personally on the thing where if both players are equal skill, the Icelander is favored. But at the same time, a lot of Kanos that you see are specialists. They may not be this top 1%, but they probably have a good amount of games of Kano. Because usually it is the top 1% bringing Kano, obviously. And at least probably facing the times that they face Icelander, right? Because usually top players are also on Icelander. It's like this really weird conundrum, right? But regardless of the Icelander matchup, let's forget the Icelander matchup, right? Icelander, again, forgetting the matchup, outside of very few competitions, has also been a popular deck. Also, are we going to pretend that ever since Uprising came out, Icelander's been a top 3 represented deck? Are we really going to pretend that? Are we going to? We can't. Especially once Hypo got banned. Like, I think what was that last event that Hamilton played Icelander? Well, no, and I remember there's a few people like Brody played Icelander a little bit afterward too. Actually, I think the calling Auckland, because that was where it was Hayden Doe in the Matt Rogers incident. That was probably the last time, ever since Icelander's recent resurgence at Battlehard in Cincinnati, where people were really, really playing Icelander. Ever since the calling Auckland, I totally, like, a lot of people forgot Icelander existed. So this theoretical really bad matchup for Icelander, or for Kano, still a pretty slow meta because Odom existed before this. Kano still wasn't doing anything. And Room Day was bad, so like other reasons to not bring AB. Then obviously you get to Pro Tour 3, Odom does not Living Legend here, he Living Legends a little bit after at a calling. But even still, Odom's an amazing matchup for Kano. So, and Odom was a large percentage of the metagame. So, why didn't all these Kanos come and play? Why didn't all these Kanos still convert? Because there's other problems with the deck. Unless you literally get Jim paired in only Odoms. It just doesn't matter. You had too much fragility everywhere else. So Odom goes away. Well, now you have this Lexi deck that can run Shock Charmers into you. And literally say, hey, you're like on a 2 to 3 turn clock. I'm just going to send 40,000 damage at you. And I'm not the ice version anymore. That's also fragile. I'm pure aggro that can run Shock Charmers. So I can run Natural Spell Void 2. And if I'm feeling dumb enough, I can run Heart of Ice. They stop running Heart of Ice very quickly because they realize it's extremely pointless. But it's even still, my Wildfire coming in for 4 versus 6 or 3 versus 5, very, very important. Especially when you're asking me to have it very, very quickly and I don't have time to pitch stack into you. But hey guys, this Kano's just killing people turn 0, turn 1, turn 2. And let me also say, it's not like it's never happened, right? I am not claiming no one got absolutely thrashed by Kano at any point here. I'm talking about the vast majority, the major tournaments, the results that matter. It wasn't happening that much. So let's go to Worlds this year. Can anyone tell me how the Kanos did at Worlds this year? Don't make me bring up the chart, because this is recent. Can anyone tell me what Kano did here? Bravo. Pretty good matchup for us, right? Dromai. Unless she sees double Thamai and multiple sand covers within the first like 4 to 5 hands, Dromai's dying. So you know we'll give a point to Kano there, right? So theoretically, 2 of the top 3 played decks are good matchups, and if you're on the team that Ice Thunder is a good matchup for Kano, 3 of the top 3 decks at Worlds right here are your favorable matchups. And how'd the Kanos do? Oh, only 1 day 2? Oh, that's insane. Okay, cool. So let's go to now. We see the Realm Rumble. We obviously see Ice Thunder LL, and people correctly drop their Arcane Barrier. And what did Kanos do? Hey, the Kanos did pretty well here. Obviously, Peter, everyone remembers Peter top 8ing. Majin doing very, very well. I did very, very well. Snyder did very, very well. Obviously, Snyder then made top 8 of the 10K with Kano. Obviously, again, all of us Kanos did pretty well. I don't think there's a lot of Kanos that bombed. Because like I said, I don't know how good Pitch Stack did. I would have to ask him how good he did. I actually do not know. But here's the funny thing. What everyone remembers from this event is like, oh, dude, wow, Peter's so good at Kano. That's awesome to see. No one's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we didn't prep for Kano. There was exactly 8 of us in the 20K and 9 of us in the 10K. One of them made top 8, which again, percentage of the hero wise is good. Percentage in the room, horrible. Right? Everyone will remember Peter. No one really talks about Snyder Day 2. I've heard no one talk about the Kano in the 10K. No one has brought up Snyder because he wasn't on camera. He didn't do the really fast stuff. He didn't have a bunch of meme cards in his deck, so no one cared. But all of a sudden, we get to Battle Hard in Orlando, and not only does Kano win the event, but dear God, some of the games that we watched were horrifying. And I'm talking about, as a Kano player, I'm sitting there going like, oh, Jesus Christ, that is hard to watch. It was hard for me to watch as a Kano player, to watch what Kano did to some of those people. But what people aren't taking into consideration is those are like, let's say you draw 100, you have 100 games that are like that, right? Like where games go 2 turns. 100 2-turn games where you draw your first turn. Let's even have your opponent go first. So you get their first turn to deal damage, you get your real first turn to deal damage, and then you get their actual first turn. So they have their turn 0, your first turn, their first, but like really their second turn. 100 games, I guarantee you kill someone like 15 times, maybe even less than that. And this was AB0. AB1, less. Like the more AB or prevention infection you have, the less this occurs. But people are seeing it happen twice and being like, guys, we can't have this. Now, let me not play dumb here. I understand that the fact that it can happen is toxic. I am never going to say Kano should just be allowed to just turn 1, turn 2 people. Never will I say that. It wasn't cool when Fi could do it. Mind you, I'm a combo player, and I'm saying, no, that's not healthy. That's not cool. If people are saying they don't have fun playing against Kano, I completely understand that. It is primarily what a lot of people are talking about on Twitter. I am making sure I repeat this 4,000 times. I understand people do not have fun playing against Kano. Because they feel, if we go back to that chart, they have no agency because they're correctly prepping for the meta, not running a lot of Arcane Barrier, so it's all open season. I understand. again, guys, I'm gonna sort of that. So no thing in the comment section. He just doesn't understand. I just don't like playing against Kano. It's just frustrating. And I'm like, guys, I know. Where my big issue on Twitter today, and what is actually behind this rant, is people being dishonest about the history of Kano, people being dishonest about the actual power level of Kano, and they're just lying. I don't want to say lying. Actually, I'm sorry. They are just spreading misleading information. I made a joke about misleading information, and that wasn't actually intended to say that William from Table and Legs is spreading misinformation. It just happened to be the meme that I felt like fit that, right? But there's people that's literally never touched the hero that are making such bold claims, and instead of going like, wow, the Kano's seen the top 10% of his hands that he could do this crazy thing on, everyone's going like, yep, this just happens every time. Kano's unhealthy, you gotta get him out of here. He just is always going to do this. He's not. If I can't do it gold fishing, even 50 out of 100 games, why do we expect it to be a common thing, again, when people are running, at least AB1? That, again, changes the math. But again, you have people that have never touched the hero making these claims. It is just the dishonest and distasteful takes that I don't like. And for the people going like, Siphon, you've never said this about any other hero. It's only because you like Kano. Actually, I understand why you would say that. I'm not going to pretend I am like, why would someone say that? That doesn't make any sense. No, I totally think that's a valid argument that someone's making. Let me rebuttal that. I was in the camp of getting rid of things like Pulse and getting rid of things like Winter's Will and Odom. I did not like that. I wanted those in there. I've never touched Odom competitively. Ever. I've never even bought half the deck. Okay, my only time I owned an Odom deck, quote unquote, was when I first started the game, and I got an upgraded Blitz deck that I turned into a CC deck, and I thought it was like mono Earth, because I thought Earth was how you're supposed to play Odom. That's the only time I've ever owned the deck. I thought if you really just want to hamper Odom, get rid of Crown, even though I really think Crown was also fine. I thought Odom deck was fine. I never really hated the Odom deck, because it took, again, maybe not the top 1%, but the top 30% of Odom to really actually make an impact at a tournament. There was a lot of bad Odoms that literally was just like, I'm just going to block 12 every turn, and then they just lost because they never did anything. I mean, some of them still won by doing that by accident, sure. They won by proxy. They didn't actually win the game. Their opponents much more lost the game, right? I defended Odom. I defended Lexi. I've been a defender of a lot of the top heroes. I have said a lot of people's takes have been very weird. Now, I've had some takes myself that I'm like, I don't like this, I don't like that. But I usually reserve most of that because, again, I'm a person, I like things to be good. I like things to be broken. And if instead of nerfing everything, it's making everything trash, but I'm like, ban this, ban that. Why not? Okay. Here's this broken thing right here. Let's actually just make a new one. Alright? Because I think you guys kind of get this. Here's this broken thing right here. Here's this broken thing. Instead of being like, let's get rid of this, let's get rid of that, let's get rid of that, why not be like, here's something powerful we can print that either counters this, or let's prop up all these low tier heroes that might be able to fight that, or just do something equals powerful. That's why people, I don't even think it's rose-colored glasses. A lot of people's favorite meta was unironically PT1, because you had Chain, which could do something powerful, Prism, which could do something equally as powerful, and Star, which could do something equally as powerful. Unfortunately, I really wish Viserai didn't get but like maybe OTK Viscerai was just too much. I never actually experienced it, so it's hard. It's hard for me to comment that, to be honest. But you had three just absolutely powerful decks, and then obviously you had Prism, who was technically like favored in Starvo. You had Starvo, who was technically favored here. You had Chain, who could be here. But the thing is, the Prism could configure her build to actually fight against Chain, but didn't make her dog to Starvo. A Starvo could actually have a playstyle that could beat Prism, but not like absolutely just fold to Chain. Chain could play and pitch deck in a way that could beat Starvo, but not make him a dog to Prism, even if they adapted. But then you still have these other heroes that could actually fight. Like Ice Lexi at this point was a player. As unironically toxic as that deck is, no one complained about Ice Lexi. Why? Because it was Yuki playing it, and everyone likes Yuki. It is kind of like really weird and everyone when it's a really popular player playing something, no one says anything, but hey, here we are. You guys kind of get the point. Let me actually explain the Kano deck for anyone that's like new, right? I'm not gonna actually go in super in depth with here, but I'm gonna just explain it in like the most like funny way possible. Kano is a giant pile of shit. This is literally a giant pile of shit. Right? It smells like shit. It is absolutely horrible. It is the most fragile. It's going to fall apart. It literally belongs in the toilet. But, you know, there are times where there might be, I don't know what you ate, but, there might still be some, might be some, some good stuff in there. Like you maybe had some chicken there. It's, still good. And you might be saying, Isaac, this is starting to get a little gross. Where are you going with this? And I say, let me cook. But there's still bits and pieces of, some of the stuff that you had. And these are like good meals. Like, you had some chicken Alfredo, you maybe had some steak. You still have some good stuff in there, right? And what is this good stuff? This is your wildfire. This is your things like Aether Swindle. These are like your big tone turns, right? It's a literal pile of shit. It is so horrible. But there's still bits and pieces of something good in there. It's a literal pile of shit, I promise you. Like, if you actually look at 90% of the cards that Kano can play, they are fucking horrible. That's the joke. That's literally a joke within the Kano community, is the only reason we get to have Busted Wildfire is because, like, 95% of our cards are literally, like, so fucking awful. It is so freaking awful. But no one talks about that. Everyone just goes like, oh my gosh, Wildfire, Blazing Aether! And I'm just like, dude, Prognosticate blue coming in for 1. I spent a whole blue card. I spent 3 resources to do 1. Nice. Who talks about that? Who talks about Prognosticate? No? Nobody? What if your opponent taps out, right? And you have all these blues in your hand, and you're like, activate Kano, you're like, blue Aether, you're like, oh, I'll send that for 1, that's fine. And you're like, I'm a Kano again, oh, blue Reverberate, I guess I'll attack for 1. Oh, you know what, 1 more Kano, and they're like, haha, oh, it's Aether Swindle, and I physically can't cast it. Oh, okay. When do you hear anyone talking about this? They are claiming it is always, oh my gosh, Kano just drew like 7-4 cards, and they just like played 17 wildfires into me, and they hit me with like 90 blazing aethers, and I took 4 million damage. That's all you hear people talk about. They don't talk about the steaming pile of shit, which is the Kano deck 95% of the time. Actually, I think so. I remember talking to Nathaniel Crawford a long time ago about Briar, and the way he explained Briar, I actually want to say the Kano deck actually is kind of similar. And let me actually find. Oh, cool! My post never sent. That's awesome. Wow, it's interesting that my post talking about my Kano rant never just never went live. That's kind of insane, isn't it? That's why I was going to do copy link, and then here we are. The long-awaited Kano rant is in full swing, and you don't want to miss this. All right, dude. I know it's literally mid rant that I'm doing this, but I just randomly looked at my phone and it said sending tweet, and I was like, wait, what tweet? What are you talking about? And yeah, I found out like nothing Lily sent. That's just cool. That's awesome. But let me find the thing that Nathaniel Crawford said. And again, this is something that I literally think I can replace a few words and it sounds just like, um, yeah, good talk. Talk just messaged me. He was like, dude, your selfie reply was the funniest shit post I've ever seen for Fab. Oh, that's funny. Alright, let's see. So, this is what he said for Briar, and I can literally replace this for Kano. He said, Briar's the equivalent of having to fight someone you know can beat your ass, but all you have to do is wait on that buddy, and he's 10 minutes out. You do whatever you do to stall until your buddy can get there. CMH is that buddy. People play Briar and think she's full aggro. She is not. She is mid-range. You maintain body limits while blocking and waiting for Chanama Heroic. I play Briar because she's efficient and has very good high roll potential. Now, let me rephrase all this and put Kano and tell me if I'm wrong. Okay? Kano is the equivalent of having to fight someone you know can beat your ass. However, you have a buddy that is on his way and he's 10 minutes out. Whatever you do to stall and wait for your buddy to get there, Wildfire is that buddy. People play Kano and think he is just blind wizard flip, do a bunch of bullshit. He is not. He's actually mid-range combo. You maintain your life total and setting up a board state and blocking while waiting for Wildfire. I play Kano because of his very efficient 2-card hands and very good high roll potential. Now tell me where I lied there. Tell me the misinformation I just spread there. What's wrong? What's wrong with that statement? There's none. There is literally nothing wrong with that statement, in my opinion at least. This steaming pile of shit that I said is Kano, again, this is the Wildfire. This is the Aether Swindle. These are like the big tome turns. There is some good in this shit, but it is still shit at the end of the day. It is still one of the most fragile things I've literally ever seen in any game ever. Now, yes, can you play a very defensive mid-range game with Kano? Yes, that's what we've had to adapt. We've had to adapt our deck to be able to play on 2-card hands. Now, you have Tog's new Psycho Kano flipping bullshit, right? Now, while that strategy I don't know how replicable that strategy is. I don't think he would have put that video out if he wasn't able to consistently do it. But what that kind of strategy is hoping is you can chunk your opponent hard turn 1, or they're literally turn 0. You draw a big hand that chunks on your first turn, arsenal combo piece. You draw another combo piece on their real first turn. How many times is that going to happen? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the most consistent strategy. I think it is like if you line it up 100 games, how much? Maybe even if you don't kill, because it doesn't always have to kill. But how many times do you just get a disgusting amount of advantage? I would probably say at least 60% of the time you'd probably get a disgusting amount of advantage. Now, that's literally in to AB1 or less. If it's AB3, you're not cycle flipping. I just disagree with cycle flipping. So now all these things that everyone claims Kano can just do blindly literally just get stopped by complete accident. And there's still cards like Oasis Spike, Aladarmi's Pair, Spell Void. I think Spell Void's a very underutilized thing. But people are literally never going to talk about this type of stuff. Now, the vocal minority that does, good on you guys for actually thinking. But for the people that are just not, that are just crying on Twitter like, guys, come on. Get out your feelings. Let's grow up a little bit. Use that adult brain of yours. And let's actually talk about reality. Living in this headspace is the most toxic thing for your mindset. If you always are going to live in this box that says Kano's the most broken thing ever, and this is always going to be your mindset, and there's no agency for me ever, and there's nothing I can ever do, you're always going to be trapped in that box. No matter what direction you try to go, you try to hit you're constantly going to hit a wall. But then, if you just open up your mind a little bit, you might see, oh, well, there's a door. Oh, there is some counterplay here. I can just race the Kano. I can, go out this way. I can pack my Arcane Barrier 3. I can pack things like Oasis. And at the end of the day, the thing that all of this needs, the Kano still needs to have it. If you look at let's talk about the big impactful cards that everyone remembers. There are 3 copies of Wildfire, 3 copies of Blazing Aether, 3 copies of Less Than Law. That's 9 cards that are really, and like, if you want to make it 12, Aether Swindle. Sonic Boom can be higher potential, let's make it 15. There are 15 cards in Kano that really, really can shift the tide and lead to like something like broken happening. At minimum, you have to have a 60 card deck. So your 15 cards out of your minimum 60. Really? That's what we're talking about? It's the same people that are going like, oh my gosh, 3 of a kind needs banned out of Ranger. Sure. Do those 3 oak turns feel absolutely horrible to win, especially when it feels like it's always a 3 of a kind and a Rain Razors? Absolutely, that sucks. Everyone hates it when that happens. That's the times that the Kano just unironically turn 2 kills you. It sucks, absolutely. But how many times do they do that? People never talk about the 3 of a kinds that whiff. People never talk about the 3 of a kinds that whiff, or the Rain Raiders that never amount to anything, or the counterplay to something like that. No one ever talks about it. Everyone just says, well, this sucks because it happened to me. There's nothing I can do. I hate it. And there's just wall. People even try to leave the room, and then now there's just this wall that they think is there. When realistically, dude, this is just a mirage. You can literally just walk through it. And be like, hey, there are some times where Lexi's literally going to blow my back out, pause, and there's nothing I'm ever going to get to do about it. And it's going to suck. But there's going to be times where it's just, okay, she gets some good value out of it. She gets to block 6 life. Oh, sorry, she gets to gain 6 life by blocking 6 and get to do something like just an average turn. Sure. And then there's going to be times where it's literally like, dear God, Crack Bobble might be the best card in my deck. Because this 3 of a kind literally do 3 reds, and they're all pumps, and I can't fire a single arrow. The thing that we have to stop doing, ladies and gentlemen, is we have to stop taking the 10%, the 10 highest percent of what a deck does, and now make that 100%. Claiming this is always what the deck is going to do. And this is why we need change. This is 10% of the time. Like, ask Alexi, how many, if you played 500 games, how many times did you 3 of a kind rain ragers? Like, blindly, not like I set it up. How many times did you just naturally keep drawing hands and 3 of a kind rain rager people? Because if people are complaining about people setting up combos or setting up big turns, then you're just being foolish. People, it's one of the big cool things about Flesh and Blood, where we can build up to a big crescendo. But people are saying, again, this 10% is 100%. And that's just not true. It's just not true, guys. Flesh and Blood community, let's open up a little bit. Again, I'm going to say it one last time. I definitely understand people's hatred towards Kano. There is a lot of feel bads. I definitely turn 2, turn 3 killed people at the Rumble. Like I said, I feel like for Roger, for example, someone I really like, someone I really respect. The fact that he finally got to play Bolton after Bolton just being absolutely god-awful for the longest time, and then he faced me and got turned 2 killed. That's horrible. I felt really bad. Obviously, the deck did what it was supposed to do, but that sucks. That sucks for him. Especially for people that travel to big tournaments and just to be a dog to Kano, and like you accidentally are just the one person that gets hit by the Kano, especially the Kano specialist. That sucks. 100% that sucks. But in a 200-man tournament, and this happens to, let's just say there's 7-round tournament, there's 7 individual people that this is going to happen to out of, well, I mean, obviously it depends. But let's just say there's one Kano. Out of 199 people, it's going to happen to 7. So now, there's 192 people that literally never experienced this ever. That's just been my point the whole entire time. Kano finally got an event. I'm happy Kano finally won an event. Will people probably overcorrect and over-tech for Kano? Probably. But is this how Flesh and Blood is? Is this how card game is? Is this how life is, guys? You're doing something powerful, so I'm going to have to adapt. You're trying to counter me, so now I have to adapt again. You just adapted, now I have to readapt. And it's just constant game of adapting and trying to be the best thing that you can possibly be in any circumstance. Guys, I actually hope this rant actually opens some people up. I don't expect this rant to obviously be seen by a ton of people. I don't expect everyone just to turn around and be like, oh, well, yeah, Siphon's right. Yeah, everything's right. I still expect some pushback to this. I absolutely expect some pushback to this. But even if this is not the talk, even if Kano specifically is not the thing that gets someone to break through and change their mindset, maybe they might reconsider something down the road, like another situation like this pops up. And instead of thinking, oh, something is just the most unplayable thing to play against, well, historically, how is this done? What are the historic counters? Do those counters still exist? What is their ability to adapt to that? And then we can actually just have more thoughtful conversations than just, Kano did 50 damage, my life sucks. Alright guys, thanks for watching that. Alright. Oh, let's see, we got the noties, dude. Got some noties.